News from Jamaica now. Sweeping changes are coming to the country's Road Traffic Act. The revised legislation will impose increased fines and penalties to motorists who refuse to comply with the law. The imminent changes were outlined by Minister with responsibility for Transport and Works, Dr. Maurice Guy. It will definitely not be business as usual on the nation's roads. That's a warning from Minister with responsibility for Transport and Works, Dr. Maurice Guy. He explains that the revised Road Traffic Act, now up for debate in Gordon House, seeks to ensure the country's roadways are safer with more responsible drivers, resulting in less road crashes and fatalities. Among the proposed changes in the road traffic bill, fines for persons who damage the island's roadways, whether with a vehicle or any other object. These persons will be liable to pay a fine of $20,000 or be imprisoned for a month.
Where people damage the road by putting things in the road which will damage the road surface, where you burn things on the road, you are liable to be charged because it is covered in this particular legislation. Because we feel, Mr. Speaker, that there has to be a certain responsibility of our people to appreciate and accept that government can't always.
Under the revised legislation, motorbike drivers will be mandated to obtain a Class A license. There's also a move to clamp down on illegal operators, much of whom operate in Negril, Westmoreland, as public passenger carriers. Dr. Guy says most motorcyclists only operate using a learner's license that's easily obtained at a tax office and lasts for 6 months.
And you will find that people have been driving motorcycles for many, many years and do not have a motorcycle license. There are few who do have. Mr. Speaker, although the work on this piece of legislation predates what is currently happening in this country, this will go a significant way in reducing the carnage that we have on the road as a consequence of a lot of motorcyclists who are driving on the road without proper license.
Meanwhile, driving without a license or learner's permit will attract a fee of $2,000. The new bill requires drivers to have their licenses on their person at all times. Currently, motorists have 48 hours to furnish the police with their driver's license. However, the minister argues that it has been quite difficult to track down motorists who fail to turn up within the prescribed time frame.
There have been so many problems associated with this, Mr. Speaker, that there have been issues where the police have been unable to trace those persons, and as a consequence, a lot of, for want of a better word, criminality does and can occur as a consequence of this. And this provision seeks to ensure that every driver will have to have his driver's license in his possession. Failing that, there will be a fine. So if you have a driver and you have a driver's license, there's nothing wrong with you having your driver's license on you. And if you don't have it, you pay the penalty, and then the next time you will ensure that you have the driver's license.
On the contentious issue of whether to ban the use of all electronic devices while driving, Dr. Guy says the committee which examined the legislation managed to reach a compromise. Whilst the use of cell phones will not be prohibited, allowances have been made for hands-free devices.
It is hands-free use is allowed in the legislation. Whether it is hands-free in the vehicle or you have loops in your ears for it, but not whilst you're driving. So you want both hands on the steering wheel. We feel, Mr. Speaker, that although, Mr. Speaker, there is still an element of distraction, that this is the best compromise that we can.
Meanwhile, persons applying for a learner's permit will need to meet additional requirements, including a clean bill of health.
A person can only apply for a learner's license once they have reached the age of 17. They can not apply for a Class A, a Class B, license until they have attained the age of 17 and a half, which gives them at least 6 months driving experience, Mr. Speaker. This new legislation, Mr. Speaker, requires that the individual who is seeking to get a learner's license, part of that particular stipulation requires him to also furnish a medical certificate at that point, so that it is not left up to the discretion of the examiner to determine whether he's competent medically or otherwise. We cannot leave up to chance, Mr. Speaker, for non-professionals to determine whether a person can see properly or hear properly.